Is this the point where Bitcoin finally makes its big bear market rally? Guys, welcome to Empire Trading Academy. Hit the like, hit the subscribe if you have not already. Let's get right into this. First, we're going to be looking at Bitcoin. Second, we're going to be looking at ETH, and then we're going to be looking at Cardano as well, maybe a little bit of the SPY. All right, so first and foremost, guys, for the past few weeks, the past few months, we've been just consolidating, right? Basically between say 24 and $18,000, right? This is it's kind of gotten boring, right? Now, there's obviously two things that can happen. Okay, we're looking at this descending wedge or this descending triangle type structure. Two things we're coming to a point. Okay, so either we're going to drop out the floor or we're going to make a break to the upside out of this descending resistance level. Okay, if we go back to yesterday, we tweeted out up at resistance that the UTAD was going in on Bitcoin. Okay, drop down to the lower time frame. This is the 15. You can see it on the 5-minute as well. We'll go ahead and try and drag this over. And we'll drop down 15-minute time frame. Okay, we put this up at the top of this, near the top of this move. Okay, that the UTAD. UTAD is that last third higher high that goes in on a distribution top before the corrective move starts, right? So we put that in. This is a great short opportunity. We're up at resistance here. So we go ahead, we put that in. Nice divergence here on the RSI, and we go ahead and we make that corrective move. Really, really good shorting opportunity. So when we get down here to the support of this range, this is usually where we put in our sign of weakness. We put in our sign of weakness, and then we go ahead and we really have our sell-off, right? Maybe like a short-term capitulation, you could think of it as. Basically, all the buyers are dried up, and we go ahead and move to the downside. Now, you know that we are more macro bullish right now, right? We look at this as a solid support. It's the previous bull market's high, and we think that we get a relatively significant bull market rally out of this. Now, what we've been warning about is on these distribution tops, and we've been saying it over and over, is that we do not think that, and we've seen it, we do not think that we get any sort of real significant markdown, and you can see that here. So you can see normally this would have a slight consolidation and then basically just a falling off of a cliff, which is not what happened. We had this consolidation or sign of weakness at the bottom of the range, and then we've gone ahead and pushed to the upside. Okay, so this is significantly bullish. And shows that there is definitely still strength in the market, especially if you look at a lower time frame. This is a relatively significant move, okay? And so this is more of just a corrective pattern before pushing higher. All right, so now if we zoom out, look more on the macro, right? This is kind of our local top or local resistance here. So obviously we want to break past that, okay? Our idea is that we're retesting this again. Okay, when we get there, it'll be roughly 21,000 on Bitcoin. Okay, so we'll see that. We'll see what type of structure we get here. I'm sure we'll have some sort of sell-off or correction off of that, possibly retesting. We make a move up here, possibly retesting this what was once resistance, now flipped to support, and then maybe a final break to push up. Okay, it's just an idea for that, guys. Okay, one of the reasons that we are extremely bullish is because of the significance of the support level, but also because of the sentiment here. Right, everybody is bearish, so this is going to be the time where big players, market makers, are stepping in and accumulating those cheap assets. Okay, and so two things that we're looking at this structure here. We want to see a break out of that if we're going to go bullish. Obviously, a breakdown of this roughly $18,000 area is going to be bearish. And then we're going to look for a retest of this more macro resistance here. Okay, and so if we put in there, it's going to be roughly 26,000, depending on how big or how strong this move is. 26, 27,000. If it's 27,000, that's roughly support of the bottom of this level. Okay, 28. It's not going to be exact, but it could be roughly around that area. Okay, so this was one support, could be used as resistance here. All right, so that's what we're looking at on Bitcoin. Ultimately, you do know that we still think that there is a lower low ultimately in this bear market, but we think that a bear market rally is coming. Looking at this structure here, even at a higher time frame, if we look at the weekly, we look at this weekly structure, you're putting in a double bottom on positive divergence, increasing volume on the weekly chart. So this is relatively significant. Even as the weeks go on, we're having less and less selling. The strength of the selling is dying. And so we have this positive divergence here, which is matching up with our thesis that we go ahead and we make a bear market rally there. So that's what we're looking at on Bitcoin, guys. If we go to ETH, okay, so somewhat similar, okay? So macro, this is the top that we were looking at. We're on the weekly. If we drop it to the daily, probably see it a little better. We look at the daily here, right? This macro top is what we were looking at. Distribution top, beautiful, right? What we kind of saw on the low time frame on Bitcoin. Okay, here was our support. Okay, we had this again. What we just saw on the low time frame on Bitcoin is exactly what happened here on a high time frame on ETH, the big macro picture. So distribution top, sell off, consolidation right at or just below support here, right? And normally we get that rollover in real heavy bear markets, we would get that correction, right? We would get that rolling over and just buyers are just dying and we just go ahead and we roll over. However, that's not what we got. We got this basically this deviation to the downside, and buyers stepping in and pulling us back up above this, what was resistance here, now making it as support. And so if we zoom in here, now we're at support, right? So we put in this top here at support, and we have a similar thing going on, somewhat of a distribution top here, but not much of a run up. So I would be cautious of looking at this as a distribution top. We want to see a real big, strong markup before a distribution top, giving us an indication that we'll have a sell-off on the way down. But this to me is a retest of this level right here, okay? And so we zoom in, putting in something of a flag. So we'll see which way we break out there. We're up against big support level here. And we went ahead and we tested the resistance today, right? Sold off a little bit. And so now we're getting some buying stepping in on the low time frame at this resistance. And so again, similar to Bitcoin, what I would be looking at is these basically two areas. So we have this descending resistance. We're looking for a retest here. If we get depending on how strong again, we'll see how that ends up. We're going to be looking at the $15,000 level by the time we go ahead and retest this. Something of a sell-off, retest of a support possibly here at 1430. And then we go ahead and break out and retest, similar to Bitcoin, this big macro descending trend line, roughly at we'll say 2,000. Could be a little more, could be a little less, again, depending on the strength of the move and how long it takes. Okay, similar to Bitcoin, we're looking at a deeper correction though. Okay, we'll look at a deeper correction, roughly $500. Let's see if we get it. But we're looking for a bear market rally, continued bear market rally here as well, guys. Okay. Lastly, on Cardano, we've been looking at this as an accumulation phase. Okay, so this is very clear Wyckoff accumulation on Cardano. Okay, that matches up with what we're seeing on Bitcoin, what we're seeing on ETH being at major supports, giving a deviation and a hop back up into the range on ETH, all while Cardano is putting in this relatively textbook accumulation phase. Okay, and so this is bigger players getting into the market. Again, match that up with the sentiment, right? We match that up with the sentiment. Everybody is bearish, right? And so that is the exact time that bigger players are stepping in. And so this is the type of structure that happens when the bigger players are stepping in and accumulating. Okay, it's going to be the flip of a distribution, right? Where big players are getting out and they leave breadcrumbs, they leave a trail, and we can see it in the charts. Okay, and so we're looking at the last point of support here. Okay, normally I would want to see this slightly higher. Okay, usually it's in line with the secondary test, but it's still very much in line with an accumulation structure. Okay, invalidation would be to the downside of this low. However, we could get a spring, right? And spring, which is the opposite of the UTAD, which we showed you on Bitcoin, would be a false breakdown to the downside, grabbing liquidity and then coming back up into this range before we move up. Okay, but normally if we get a last point of supply, this will basically dry up the sellers. This comes down like this, and we basically stair step up that way. Okay, and then we kind of create this almost like a cup and handle pattern. Okay, so we have this, guys. That is, and again looking for upside. This matches with what we're looking at on crypto overall, and that's what we got, guys. Quickly, we can look at the SPY. You know that we pinpoint the mark of this rally. This was our shorting opportunity here, similar to what we're looking for on Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? This test of a macro resistance level, getting some bounce off of this major support here, and we'll see exactly what we get, right? There's a bunch of fractals going from 2008 that this is showing another like 50% decrease or 50% sell off, right? I don't think we get that. I think that again, the sentiment is very, very bearish right now. I know the macro environment is terrible, but the charts don't lie, and two, you have to match it up with the sentiment, guys. And this structurally is starting to look relatively bullish. So potentially a double bottom here. If we look on the weekly, again, lower low here, we have a low, lower low, but on the weekly, we're getting this positive divergence. On the weekly, that's extremely strong. Okay. So we'll see exactly. We may not put in a double bottom. We could get something, a rally here, and maybe the double bottom or even a squeeze below comes up here, and then we go ahead and move like that. Okay, not to say that no downside can come, but this is generally what we're going to be looking for. There's definitely strength starting to come back in. We have this positive divergence here on the weekly, very significant. And so that's what we're looking for all across these markets, guys. Thank you for sticking around. Let me know if you have any questions. Email us, message us. We'll see you in the next video.